From Season 4, Episode 9, Breakdown, Why the Man in Yellow is Finally Afraid. What if the biggest twist in From Season 4 isn't that the town is becoming more dangerous, but that for the very first time, the man in yellow might actually be scared? Think about it. For 4 seasons, we've watched this mysterious figure stay in complete control. Every death, every nightmare, every cruel game seemed to work in his favor. But now, something feels different. And after everything we saw in Episode 8 and what's being teased for Episode 9, I honestly think the balance of power might finally be starting to shift. Hey, what's up everyone? Come back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The most interesting part of Episode 8 wasn't actually the appearance of the man in yellow itself, it was what he chose to say. Because if you really pay attention, his words feel less like a threat and more like a warning, and those are 2 very different things.
For years, the town has thrived on chaos. The monsters don't warn people before something terrible happens. They enjoy the surprise. They enjoy the fear. So when the man in yellow suddenly tells Tabitha that unimaginable suffering could be coming, I immediately started asking one question. Why would he warn her at all? And honestly, that's where this entire theory begins. Because if suffering truly benefits him, then staying silent would make far more sense. Instead, he personally stepped in, interrupted events, and tried to plant doubt in Tabitha's mind. To me, that feels less like confidence and more like desperation, and that changes everything. What if the bones hidden inside the caves are actually far more important than anyone realizes? Most people are focusing on the danger of retrieving them, but maybe that's exactly what the man in yellow wants. Maybe he wants everyone terrified of taking the risk, because those bones are connected to the one thing he's been trying to prevent all along: an escape.
The craziest part is that he practically admitted something unusual is happening. He talked about Jade and Tabitha reaching places they've never reached before. He mentioned that this version of the story is different. And if that's true, then for the first time ever, the residents may be moving outside the boundaries of the cycle. Now here's where things get really interesting, because there is another possibility. What if he's telling the truth? What if the suffering he described is real? We've heard references to previous cycles. We've heard warnings about time running out. Victor has been terrified for weeks. The boy in white keeps acting like something massive is approaching. And what if all of those clues are connected? Maybe disturbing the bones doesn't lead directly to freedom. Maybe it triggers the next phase of the cycle, the kind of catastrophe that wiped out the town when Victor was a child. And honestly, that's what makes this situation so terrifying, because both possibilities make sense. Either the man in yellow is bluffing because he's afraid, or he's telling the truth because something far worse is coming. And right now, nobody knows which one is correct. But before we get to the finale, there's another detail that fans aren't talking about enough. Sophia. The trailer for Episode 9 gives her a huge amount of attention, and I don't think that's accidental. Throughout the season, she's been quietly moving from character to character, almost like she's setting pieces on a chessboard. First Sarah, then Henry, then Marielle, and now Clara. Did you catch that? Every time she approaches someone, their behavior starts changing, almost like she's preparing the town for something. And honestly, that makes me think Clara isn't just a random target, she's part of a larger plan. The trailer shows Sophia getting disturbingly close to Clara while wearing that familiar smile. And if there's one thing we've learned from this show, it's that smiles are usually bad news. Like really bad news. The scary part isn't that Sophia might hurt Clara. The scary part is that she might manipulate her. Because that's what we've seen over and over again this season. The enemy isn't just attacking people physically anymore, it's attacking their minds.
And that leads directly into another character whose mind is hanging by a thread: Henry. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I genuinely think Henry is in the most danger right now. The visions, the false reality, the idea that another world is waiting for him. None of it feels accidental. It feels like a trap, a very carefully designed trap. And if the town wants maximum suffering, what better way than convincing Victor's father to destroy himself? That would absolutely break Victor. which is exactly why I'm worried. But speaking of Victor, his reaction in the Episode 9 trailer may actually be one of the biggest clues we've seen all season. When Boyd chases after him and Victor breaks down, that doesn't feel like ordinary fear. That feels personal, like someone who knows something terrible is connected to what's about to happen. Victor has always been one of the show's most important mystery pieces, and whenever he's afraid, I pay attention, because more often than not, Victor's instincts turn out to be right. Maybe he's afraid of the bottle tree being destroyed.
Maybe he's afraid of the caves. Maybe he's afraid the town is headed toward another massacre. Whatever the reason, his reaction tells us one thing: the stakes are higher than they've ever been. And that brings us back to the man in yellow, because the more I think about his conversation with Tabitha, the more convinced I become that fear is driving his actions. Not fear of the residents, not fear of Boyd, but fear of losing control. For 4 seasons, he's been the one pulling the strings, the one manipulating the story, the one turning hope into despair. But now, the characters are starting to uncover answers. They're connecting clues. They're taking risks. And worst of all for him, they're refusing to stop. Personally, I think that's what scares him the most. Not the bones, not the bottle tree, not even Boyd. It's the possibility that the cycle is finally breaking. Because if the cycle breaks, then his game ends. And if his game ends, then everything changes. Now here's my bold prediction. Episode 9 won't answer all the mysteries. Instead, it's going to push the town directly toward chaos.
I think we'll see major consequences. I think someone is in serious danger, and I think the decision involving the bones will trigger events that cannot be undone. Whether that leads toward freedom or disaster is the question that nobody can answer yet. But one thing is becoming very clear. For the first time in a very long time, the man in yellow doesn't look like a villain who's winning. He looks like a villain who's worried. And in a show like From, that might be the most dangerous version of him we've ever seen. So what do you think? Is the man in yellow genuinely afraid? Or is this all part of another manipulation designed to lure the town into making a fatal mistake? Let me know your theory down below, because honestly, Episode 9 feels like the calm before an absolute storm. And if you've enjoyed this breakdown, theory discussion, and prediction video, don't forget to subscribe for more From Season 4 coverage. I will catch you in the next one.